Do I think that Hermes belt is basic? Yes. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Sophie. Luxury basics. Okay, so I was putting together this video and it was really aimed at those of you who are into having a capsule wardrobe where, you know, with social media, with YouTube, it's very consumer driven. It's very much about what's new out there, what you might like to buy. And I know that for the majority of you, that's what you're into. But then I know also there are those of you who don't want to have masses of stuff. But there are also those of you who your budget allows for one bag, one pair of shoes, you know, one of each category. And these are some of my recommended things, particular products that I think are worth you buying, that I think are going to be long term, and that I think if you are building a capsule luxury wardrobe, these are worth it. But at the same time, in terms of the word basic, this in a way is the luxury, a very basic luxury starter pack. You can tell me what you think. Okay, so the first thing has to be a designer handbag. Now, I think when it comes to designer handbags, we very often think of some of the higher end brands like Chanel and Hermes and Dior. But you know, those brands are ridiculously expensive now, and not everyone can run to that. And if you're out there and you want a designer bag and you think, I don't have 5k to spend, and even if I did, I'm never going to spend that on a bag, I don't think it matters. I think there are so many bags and brands out there from really good brands that you can buy for around about £1,000, maybe £1,500 in today's like money, but you can get stuff for around about that money. You can even get things for less. Like I always talk about Coach. Coach is not for everyone, but to me, Coach is a really good long-term brand that's been going since I think the 1940s. As I say, it's not for everyone. Some people class it as contemporary, some class it as luxury, and some class it as neither. But if that's your budget, I have reviewed those bags before. You get an awful lot for your money. They're very well made. The quality of the materials that go into them is really good. And actually, if you pick well, like if you go for the Tabby, I love the shape of the Tabby, it's a very classic shape, then that can be a really good bag for you to go for. I think for me, the ultimate bag, aside Hermes, okay, now if you're lucky enough to step foot in Hermes and they give you a bag and you're like a one-time customer and you don't have a big collection, or you don't have a collection at all and you just get one, you are so lucky. If you buy one pre-loved, again, you're lucky, there's a lot of money. I do think that that is the ultimate bag, either the Birkin or the Kelly. But a step down from that, I would say, is the Chanel Trendy CC. I think that bag is actually better than the classic flap. It costs less. It's just as classic looking. There's nothing about it that's overly stylized or that feels very 2023. I nearly said 22. There's nothing about it that feels really stylized. You can fit a lot in it, but it's not a massive cumbersome bag. It's not like the Chanel Jumbo, which is that's actually a really big bag to use on a daily basis. Particularly if you're petite, you might disagree, but for me, I'm like 5'7" and I find that a big bag to deal with. So if you're petite, you might find it like too much for you. But the Trendy is the perfect size. Okay, the second item that I think is worth you having, but it is basic. It is basic, in my opinion. It's a belt, but it's the belt itself. I think a good belt to go for is Hermes. They're classic, they're clean, they're simple. If you're into a logo, you've got a logo. I've always said a belt is a really good, quite affordable way of injecting a designer brand into your look if you're not quite at the handbag level yet, but you want to inject a logo into your look. A belt is a really good way of doing it. Now, although I think Hermes is a good brand to go for when it comes to if you're only going to buy one belt, I would say that consider when you're building your collection, your like capsule wardrobe, consider the other brands you're going to buy into, because you're going to have a day where you want to wear the belt with the bag with the shoes, and I do think sometimes when you clash logos it doesn't really work. So make sure that if you're going to buy the bag, try and get a belt to match it. Don't play around too much with different brands if you're only going to have one of each thing. But definitely, do I think the Hermes belt is basic? Yes. I do, and I own one. You know, a lot of the things I'm saying are basic in this, I actually own, so I'm not on here kind of slating them because I own them. Okay, next up, and it's sunglasses. I do think when it comes to sunglasses, if out of this list you dropped anything, you probably could drop designer sunglasses, because for example, I've got loads of pairs of non-designer sunglasses that I probably wear more than my designer ones, and I actually buy them from Pret a Voir, which is it's a website, online only, I think, and they do some really good non-designer sunglasses, or like Ralph Lauren sunglasses that don't cost a lot of money, and I actually wear them more than the majority of my Chanel or my Dior sunglasses, so I do think you can drop this one. But again, if you want to inject a logo, you want it to be at head height, designer sunglasses can be a really good way of doing it. And not all of them are super expensive, and also consider pre-loved. Yesterday I bought, and I cannot wait for them to turn up, a pre-loved pair of 1990s Valentino sunglasses. Cannot wait for them to turn up, and they cost me £60. You don't have to spend a fortune. Watches. I have a lot of you asking me about watches. What do I think of them? I'm not massively into watches, but I do have two, and I have two that I love, and they're both from the same brand. When it comes to watches, if you pick the right one, they can be massive investments, you know? You can buy something that continues to go up in price. Although I will say, and one of my friends brought this to my attention the other day, you know how like with Rolex, how they keep going up in value and how they're worth more? I didn't realise, but in order to keep up the warranty, I think they were saying, or the service history of the watch, which is what makes the watch worth money, you've got to have it serviced frequently, and the service is like £1,800 a go. So my friend was saying to me, I bought this watch and it cost X, and it's now worth Y, but actually when I add up all of the servicing that I've had to pay for over the years, I'm at a loss. And I thought that was so interesting. So I think when it comes to watches, before any of us jump in and think, oh, that's a sure thing, we're going to make money on that, actually think about it, because maybe we won't. But one brand which is my personal favourite, obviously you've got Rolex, you've got Hublot, you've got Cartier, all of those brands out there, and if they're in your budget, they're definitely worth it. One brand I love is Tag Heuer. I love the brand because you don't have to spend a fortune, but you get so much watch for your money. This is this is my first actual ever watch that I bought. I bought this back in, when? Probably like 2008. It's from the F1 collection. You know I'm into F1, I'm into cars, so for me this ticked all the boxes. It's got pave diamonds around the outside edge. It's got a pink mother of pearl face on it, and I bought this with one of my first bonuses. I'd wanted a watch for a long time, but I wanted something decent, and this was the first point that I got into Tag, because I realised, you know, I can go and buy a really good watch that I love, and it's not going to cost me a fortune. My second most favourite watch, which I'm wearing more actually at the moment, is this. This is also from Tag. It's a Carrera from the Carrera line, which, you know, I drive a Carrera, so I'm into that. Very into that. But this watch, okay, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't Rolex money, and it's a man's watch, by the way, which is why it's quite oversized, but I quite like men's watches. I like that oversized, it's too big for my wrist kind of look. I love this watch. I think this was around about 5,000 from memory, which is a lot, but it's not Rolex a lot. So if you're thinking about buying a watch, think about your favorite brand, but, you know, consider Tag. Particularly if you're into a more like manly, sporty style of watch. Earrings. A massive basic purchase are Chanel earrings. And yet, I have Chanel earrings. I don't really wear them anymore, actually. One, because stones tend to fall out, and two, because I've just kind of like moved on from that phase in my life. But I don't think they're a bad thing to purchase. And again, if you're on a smaller budget, even if you're not on a small budget, if you've got capacity to buy big but you don't want to, and you're into your logos and you want something face height that people will notice, and I know not all of you are into logos, but I know a lot of you are, Chanel earrings or any designer earring can be a really good way of doing this. It can add to your outfit. Like, for example, Van Cleef Arpels, you know, the Alhambra range. I like that. Don't get me wrong, I like it. I wouldn't buy it though. And I do feel Please don't kill me. I feel as though the Cartier Love bracelet and the Alhambra range, I feel like they're starting to feel a bit basic, a bit luxury basic, you know, in a little way. Maybe it's because I see them so often, so they feel very normalized now. You know, on social media, when you keep seeing the same thing over and over, it doesn't really feel special anymore, to a degree. That's just me. Maybe you would feel differently, and that's totally fine. But if you're into the Alhambra line, that's another really classic. I can't deny how elegant I think the Alhambra pieces look when people wear them. You know, the necklace or the bracelet or the earrings, I think they look elegant. Yes, I wouldn't buy them, but that's a whole separate topic that I've spoken about before, but I do like them. If it was free, oh my God, I'd wear it, but I just wouldn't spend, I'm digging a hole here, I wouldn't spend my own money on it, but I do love it. I'm not saying I don't love it. So consider whether you want to buy costume jewellery or fine jewellery. Have a think about it. Make sure that you, with all of this stuff, consider the brand. You know, you don't want to be mixing logos, but also buy things you know you're going to wear. And I do think the problem is with costume jewellery, the fact that it can damage when you're wearing it can be off-putting. For me, definitely, it's one of the reasons why I used to look at my Chanel earrings when I used to wear them and think, oh, shall I wear a pair today? And I'd be like, oh no, because I don't want a stone to fall out or a pearl to fall out. And so they ended up not really being worn as such. And now the earrings that I wear are all from the same place. They're all from Ideal, and they're lab grown diamonds. They really sparkle. They're all set in rose gold. You can choose rose gold, regular gold, or white gold, and I always go for rose. I just like the tone of it. But I've got on various pieces from there, and yeah, that's like a side topic, but I've kind of changed the jewellery that I'm wearing now, and I'm wearing more fine jewellery. When it comes to costume jewellery, for the price that you will pay, sometimes you can actually buy diamonds. And even if you can't get true diamonds, you can get lab grown, which are just as good, in my opinion. They don't have the same value, you know, they are cheaper, but they still have the sparkle of a diamond. They still catch the light, they still look really good, and they can be really good quality. So for the price of your Chanel earrings that probably will fall apart, you can go and find yourself a nice big pair of lab-grown diamond studs, which are going to look elegant, timeless, classy. Spend a bit more, you can actually get a true diamond instead. So have a think about that. I have two more, ready to wear and scarves. Ready to wear, you can skip this one. Because for example, there are loads of places that you can buy very well tailored, very affordable clothing. Like, one of the reasons why I really love Farfetch and Louisa Via Roma are because you can go onto those places and buy contemporary brands. You can, let's say you find a coat and it's £400, but it's going to hang together, and pick a style that's classic, that's not going to date, that's not going to, like, I always think of Devil Wears Prada. Whenever I watch that film, I do like that film actually, whenever I watch that film, the clothes that they are all wearing in that film are still very wearable now because they're all so classic and so timeless. And whenever I try and buy clothes, I think the same thing myself. I think, will I wear this in 5 years' time? Do I think it's going to date? Like, for example, the blazer that I'm wearing at the moment, this is an hourglass cut bar jacket blazer from Dior, and I bought this knowing that it's got quite an elegant look to it, and I bought it knowing that it's not going to date. And I actually bought this back in 2019 now, and maybe even 2018, quite a while ago though, and I still think it looks good. It's worn really well. So designer, ready to wear. I would say to buy one staple piece that you're going to wear a lot. If you're someone who is really into your coats, buy a coat. If you're into your jackets, buy a jacket. If you live somewhere warmer and you're really into your dresses, buy a dress. But only buy one. You don't need multiple. And the reason why I suggest to buy one is because when you spend this kind of money, not always, but a lot of the time, you get quality. And if you pick the brand right, and if you pick the item right, you can end up with something that's going to last you a long time. Also look at pre-loved. You can get some amazing designer like Chanel jackets and stuff on some pre-loved websites, and they are a fraction of the price. So have a look at pre-loved, and I do think it's worth you having like one item in your wardrobe. And now finally, scarves. I do think that a kind of basic range of scarves can feel like some of the Louis Vuitton ones, and I've got several Louis Vuitton scarves. I still wear them, and when I say basic, I don't mean it's horrible, by the way. It's kind of more tongue-in-cheek, you know. If we're talking about a basic luxury starter kit, that would be in it. What I don't like about Louis Vuitton scarves, whether it's the more fluffy ones or whether it's the Lurex ones, the ones that are kind of more smooth, is they pull way too easily. Your rings catch on them, earrings catch on them, anything catches on them, and you've got all these threads hanging out, and you've got something you've paid quite a lot of money for, and it costs money, and it's ruined. And I've got that. I've got scarves that I don't like wearing because I ruin them without even knowing. But I do think having a designer scarf in your wardrobe is another great way of injecting a pop of colour, if you're into colour, or even a designer brand logo. You don't have to buy a designer scarf with logos all over it and monograms all over it. But for example, like this one here, this is one from Fendi that I've got that I really like. This is fairly new. And the great thing about this scarf is because it's, I think it's cashmere, it doesn't pull on anything. And I do think when you're going to go and look at a scarf, consider that. If it's like a big chunky knit, it's going to pull. So make sure that when you look at something, even if you've fallen in love with it, make sure you look at it and go, has that got propensity to ruin, before you go and spend your money on it. So they are the top, most basic designer items. Basic in the sense of that, yes, they could be a bit basic for you. You might be watching this going, they're all a bit too cliche, but also they're basic in terms of the fact that if you want one of each category, they are the categories I think are worth you buying into. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.